What's going on, everybody? This is podcast 129, episode 1. I'm Hunter Waldrop. This is one of my good buddies and new podcast host, Jake Stenchcomb, checking in from Athens, Georgia. Jake, how you doing, brother?
Good. I'm excited, man. How are you?
Good, doing good. Glad you're here. Glad we can, do this. We talked about it over the summer, and now I'm back down here in Statesboro. You're in Athens, and found some good time to do it. So let's hop right into it today. We'll be doing the SEC preview for this upcoming 2024 college football season. And man, we're recording this on Sunday, the 18th, and we are 6 days from college football being back. It's almost that time. It's almost the best time of the year. Man, let's just get right into it. And I know you said you want to start off with a segment. So
yeah, for sure. I'll take a minute to introduce myself. I'm Jake. Me and Hunter have known each other for a while. Doing a podcast is something I've wanted to do since college. And Hunter kind of really inspired it when he did his last year with a buddy and killed it. Obviously, mini Brandon Walker I'm working with here. So I'm really excited. Listening to all the podcasts over the years. Like I started like freshman year. I remember I listened to First Take. That was the first like podcast, I guess you could call I listened to when they'd release those, and then it became Barstool got introduced to me, so it's Unnecessary Roughness, Pardon My Take, the Yak, and then now I listen to those guys a lot, and then Brooks Austin, the Film Guy Network, love that show. So you should listen to all those shows. I'm really excited to get on here and talk some ball with Hunter, and my segment that Hunter was talking about, it is called, don't have a name for it yet, but I love doing trivia and rankings like with my friends, like just rattling off like top 10, whatever of all time, top whatever. So I'm going to start off with an SEC one in honor of our first show being the SEC preview. So, Hunter, what I got for you is, can you name the past 10, so that'd be since 2014, we'll do 2014, the past 10 SEC Offensive Player of the Year.
So since 2014. All right, 10. All right.
Order.
Do what?
You can go in any order. So since
all right. So I'll go ahead and start. Obviously, last year, Jayden Daniels.
Yep.
Okay. 2022. That's when Caleb won the Heisman. Stetson Bennett was a Heisman finalist. I'm gonna skip 2022 for right. 2021, Bryce Young.
Yes, sir.
2020, got to be Devontae Smith. I mean, those are back-to-back Heisman winners.
Yep.
19, Burrow.
Yep.
18. 2018. Is that the Tua year?
It is the Tua year.
That's Tua. Okay, because 2017 is when he came in the Natty and the 2nd and 26. So, okay, making sure I'm on the right track. 2017, yeah, Jake Fromm, Chubb Michelle. Is it Chubb or Michelle?
No, it is not. It's not a Georgia or Alabama football player. This one's tough. I think this one for me would be the toughest.
I'll skip over. So, will this be 2016? This was Bama Clemson.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts.
Okay. 2015 Heisman winner Derrick Henry.
Yep.
Okay.
You got 2017, 14, and 22.
2014, first year of the playoff, Ohio State, Bama. Who else was in it that year? Ohio State, Bama, and then I don't even remember, Oregon and Florida State. Okay, so probably somebody off Bama. Was it 2014? Yep. It can't be. It's not Blake Sims, is it?
No.
It's not Blake Sims.
No, it's not.
Was Amari Cooper drafted yet?
No.
Is it Amari Cooper? I think that your head nod gave it away. Because I remember, I'm pretty sure he was a Heisman finalist in 2014. So, okay. So what am I missing? 22,
2017, and 2022. 2022, once you hear it, you're gonna be like, shit. Like,
No, I'm not. Give me about 2 more minutes. Let me see if I can't figure this out. 2022 Hendon Hooker.
it's Hendon Hooker. Yep.
Because that was 2017, dude. That was Georgia Auburn. It's not Jared Stidham. No way.
No, it's not Jared Stidham.
Is he on Auburn?
He is on Auburn.
Offensive Player of the Year. Oh my gosh. "2017." I'm not gonna get it unless it was a running back. Who?
Kerryon Johnson.
Kerryon Johnson, Auburn legend.
Auburn.
Hey,
legend.
9 for 10 ain't that bad on the first
9
one.
for 10 is not bad. That I would have been stuck on Kerryon Johnson, and then getting into like the 2014 and 15, getting to Amari Cooper and Derrick Henry. That's pretty impressive.
Well, it's easy when they win the Heisman, I will say. If they win the Heisman. But Amari Cooper, well, I was just trying to think, all right, who was in the playoff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think my first guess was Blake Sims. So,
yeah. Blake Sims. What a guy.
Yeah, what a guy. But all right. So we're going to go start with the SEC on our first of, I guess we're only going to do 4 conference previews this year. RIP the Pac-12. But two big headlines about the SEC and in 2024. I think the biggest ones being Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC, groundbreaking. They were the first 2 teams to start this entire conference realignment. And things are about to get crazy having those 2 teams in here. And then the second one being Nick Saban no longer roaming the sidelines, no longer haunting, I guess at the time, 13 other teams every single season, and a lot more that he has beaten in playoffs and national championships. So definitely a new look SEC, and exciting for 2024 to see what it has in store.
Yeah.
So I think the best way to go through this is some of the tier. We'll just kind of tier some of these teams up. We'll have the bottom half, the middle half, and then like the top half, and then there's always that one set of a few teams they're not average, but they're not elite either. So we'll kind of do it like that. And we'll start off, I think, just to be quick, we will start with the lower level teams.
Yeah.
So, and I think the first topic of discussion is, who do you think, or the first question I'm going to ask you, Jake, is who's the worst team in the SEC 2024?
So I have 3 teams going 3-9, and all 3 has an argument for who could be the worst. But the worst team, in my opinion, this year is going to be Arkansas. I think it's Sam Pittman's last year. Could be fired by the end of the season. Hopefully he's back at Georgia on the recruiting trail with Kirby next year. Their win total setting at 4.5. 4.5 is very nice for that schedule. They're not going to be good. So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, Arkansas, I definitely think they're lower level. I mean, their win total, like you said, 4.5 on FanDuel Sportsbook. No free ads, by the way, not sponsored. I think some other teams that you can make the argument for here, Arkansas, definitely. I think Mississippi State is the next one. First-year head coach Jeff Lebby. You got Blake Shapen coming in to play quarterback. He was very questionable at Baylor. If you're questionable in the Big 12, how are you going to do it in the SEC? They might get one surprise win with all those dumb cowbells they got over there in Starkville, but definitely a team it's gonna be a rebuilding year. Their win total is at 4.5 as well. Another team to look at. I don't think they're going to be the worst, but I wouldn't be shocked if at the end of the year they only had 3 wins for whatever reason. But South Carolina,
yeah, they were my next team. It was between them and Arkansas.
Losing Spencer Rattler. I mean, look, the guy might not have panned out to being the number 1 quarterback in the country and the projected first overall pick about 4 or 5 years ago coming out of high school, all that jazz. But he did improve every year he was in college. And he's a big reason why South Carolina was getting those win totals. They were hitting the over for 3 of the years he was there. Huge win over Tennessee and Clemson. I mean, he single-handedly knocked 2 teams out of the playoff in 2022.
Yeah.
I mean, all Tennessee and Clemson both just had to win out.
He's just carried Shane Beamer for the past few years.
And
what it is.
I know they have Nick Harbor. They're starting a true freshman in Norris Sellers. Or is he a true freshman? He might be a sophomore. I'm not sure.
I think he's true freshman.
Okay.
So they've lost like all of their offensive line.
Yeah.
So Rocket Sanders came to South Carolina. That makes no sense to me. I don't understand that. Why? Who's paying him? Why are you going there, dude? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Rocket Sanders definitely was falling off a little bit at Arkansas. I mean, you talk about going from one bad offensive line to another. I mean, this guy can't catch a break.
Yeah, it's right
because he's very talented. I feel like he could be a solid fourth, fifth round guy if he had, even with a bad offensive line. Like I think he could have potential to be productive back in the league. But moving on from the Gamecocks, I think the last team that. Man, I don't even like bringing them up because I just feel terrible for them every year. But the Vanderbilt Commodores, 2.5 at the win total. I did have them written down just because, I mean, man, everybody knows it's hard. It's hard there. I mean, I feel bad for Clark Lee. I mean, did you see that they pretty much are just New Mexico State 2.0, bringing in David?
Yeah, the Diego
Pavia and
the Utah guy. That played last year a little bit.
Oh, Nate Johnson. Yeah. Nate Johnson's there. He's actually really fun to play with at EA Sports College 25. He is fun to play with. And then, so they have a few New Mexico State transfers over there. I mean, I think they're going to get over their 2.5 win total.
I do too. I have them going 4-8, man.
Yeah.
I think they're going to beat South Carolina at home. That's going to be the last straw for Shane Beamer. He's gone.
You think he's gone? You think Beamer's gone after this year? Interesting.
Yeah,
interesting. So you got Arkansas, Carolina, Vandy. Yep. I mean, and Mississippi State all right there in that bottom half.
Yep.
I don't know if Vandy will fire Clark Lee. I don't think there's really big reason to. I don't think it matters who the guy is sitting in that seat. It's going to be a tough stretch. Sam Pittman, I think he's gone. I think he hired his replacement. I think by week 8, Bobby Petrino is going to be leading the Hogs out of the tunnel. Jeff Lebby, first-year head coach, he'll be good. And Beamer, I don't think he's going to get fired. I think they're going to win 5 games or 4.
Win total is 5.5 where I saw it.
It is 5. But I think you're starting the true freshman. You have a lot leave. I think they're going to give them one more year of grace. I mean, looking at their schedule right now, Old Dominion. I'm not even going to say Old Dominion, Sunbelt powerhouse. No, I'm just kidding. They're not that good. But they have had a tendency to go and beat a few ACC teams in the non-con in the recent years.
Yeah.
They're going to lose to Kentucky.
Yeah.
They're going to lose to LSU. So they'll get Akron. I got them at 2. And then that might be one of the worst 3-game stretches I've ever seen. You have a bye, then you play Ole Miss at Bama at Oklahoma. Then you got A&M.
Yeah.
And you get Vandy. So your logic is they're going to be giving up.
They're going to be beat up, man. 4 straight weeks. I mean, they will all be ranked. They all are ranked. You got Ole Miss, Bama, Oklahoma, A&M, 4 ranked opponents. 3 of those on the two of those on the road, 2 at home. And then you got Clark Lee on the road.
Clark Lee
to play in, man. Come on.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'd actually really like that under. Now that I'm looking at it, that under
generous, man. I don't know.
But then again, Carolina, they'll win 1 or 2 games that they're not supposed to every year. So see, we shall see. So let's kind of move into they're not bad. They're really not even mediocre. They just play in the SEC and they don't have some of these resources. I think the biggest team that comes to my mind are the Kentucky Wildcats. What about you?
So I have 3 teams in that category. So you got your lower tier that we just talked about, and I have Vandy, South Carolina, Florida, Arkansas, and then I have that tier you're just talking about, middle of the pack, not going to do anything crazy. I got Kentucky and Auburn, and then I mean, you can put them in the worst, but I have Mississippi State winning 5 games.
Okay.
Jeff Lebby in his first year.
Okay.
I think his win total. What's his win total? Like 4?
Let me. I got it right here. Give me. I think it's 4.5. If I'm not mistaken. Hang on. Mississippi State. Yeah, 4.5 plus odds on the over too. Plus 152 right now.
Yeah.
FanDuel. So.
Yeah, those are my 3 teams right there. Kentucky, same shit, different year. Kentucky. Although this year I think they only have 2 games until they play Georgia, so they'll be 2-0 coming into Georgia probably. I think.
That's right. They open up with Southern Miss and Lex. Heck, they start with 4 home games. They open up with Southern Miss, Carolina, and then they welcome in UGA. This is the Brock Vandagriff revenge game, brother.
Yeah. Be on the lookout. You got Jamon Dumas Johnson first game against his old team.
I am a Brock Vandagriff believer.
Are you?
I am. I just going to tell you right now, Stetson Bennett wouldn't have stayed for a 6th year. We'd be talking about the Georgia Bulldogs with Brock Vandagriff because Beck would have had his 2 years. Besides the point. All right, so looking at this schedule for Kentucky, Southern Miss, Carolina, Ohio, Vandy, Murray State, and then there's a few toss-ups. So I think they're going to get at least 5. I think they'll make a bowl game. I don't see Mark Stoops missing a bowl game. So they play at Florida. Depending on if that team is quit by then, well, that'll single-handedly. They get Auburn at home. Yeah, that's going to be a really good game.
Yeah,
because
that was
interested to see. Yeah, and Louisville rivalry game. I mean, heck, Louisville. All they had to do last year was win out, and they were in the playoff, and Kentucky ruined that for them. So 6 to 7 wins for the Wildcats this year, probably sitting around that range. Now, I know that you said that you had a few words to say about the Auburn War Eagle Tigers.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing with Auburn is if you go to their schedule, all right, you start.
I got it pulled up right here.
Alabama A&M week 1. There's a win. Then you got Cal comes to town week 2. They're not going to be able to handle that. 2-0. New Mexico at home. Arkansas at home. So 4 straight games at Jordan-Hare. You're 4-0.
That's what I got. We're on the same page.
Week 5, Oklahoma comes to town.
And hey, Jackson Arnold's about to crap his pants when he walks in.
He is. That game. All right. So I have them winning that game. You're 5-0. By that time, you're going to be in the top 25, probably.
No, they will.
5-0, and you beat Oklahoma. They'll be, and Oklahoma will be undefeated at that point too, I believe.
Well, they had Tennessee the week before. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but I have them winning that game against Tennessee. So both teams.
Me too. Let's save it.
So 5-0, and the spread on that game is already set 2.5 points. Oklahoma's favorite. That's a weird.
In which game?
Oklahoma at Auburn.
Oh, okay.
So Hugh Freeze gets the boys going. Peyton Thorne showing a little bit of hope through 5 weeks, and then you go to Georgia.
Yeah,
they'll be there. Hopefully, and
then
they just get steamrolled, and that's the end of their. And then it was like, that was it. And then they go on a tough stretch. You got at Georgia, then you go straight to Missouri.
I mean, they have a 3. Is that 3 in a row? Is there a bye week in there?
There is a bye week. It's between Auburn after Georgia.
Oh, okay. Because I was about to say, it's still going on the road 3 times in a row, man.
Yeah. And then you got Kentucky, and that's already a night game. And then Vandy, UL Monroe, A&M. And then I have them beating A&M at home before they play Bama. And then they'll probably get steamrolled by Bama, but you never know. That game's not in Jordan-Hare, so Alabama should be safe, but anything can happen in that game. So
you're right.
I'm a Hugh Freeze guy. I like him. I did think his quote last week and with the the interview with Marty and McGee. Did you see that? Nick Saban's a good guy, but I should have like 4 wins against them. Take a step back, Hugh. But yeah, I got Auburn going 8-4. I think they'll surprise some people in the front half of the season with a big win against OU. I will definitely be hammering them that Saturday. That'll be fun.
Yeah, no, I like that Auburn pick over Oklahoma. I'm on that as well. As of right now, obviously, this is about close to a month out of that game, so we'll see. And then, like you said, then they have to go to Athens. That stadium is going to be rocking. If both teams are undefeated at that point, that will be the 7:30 ESPN ABC kickoff.
Yeah, and it's like
You would
that.
think.
That game gives me the vibes of 2022 when Arkansas came to town and they were
Yeah.
ranked undefeated. Yeah, same vibe for me.
Yeah.
Way
No,
bigger-
that was 21. 21.
way bigger stakes considering it's Auburn.
Yeah.
Deep rivalry, so that'll be fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like that Auburn. I like that coverage of them. Let me take a look at this win total. I want to make sure I'm not like high because I have it's 7.5.
Yeah,
They're at 7.5. I have them at 8 wins, and I can see them winning 7, and they could sneaky win 9.
they could sneaky win 9.
And I think there's just so many wild cards, and we'll get into kind of.
If you can, I mean, if you find a way to win on the road at Kentucky or at Missouri,
yeah,
and take care of everybody at home, you're going to be 9-3.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. But no, so I'm glad we're bringing this up because this is kind of what I wanted to bring us into next. A little wild card team.
Yep, wild card team.
Wild card team. But before we just get into like specific teams, I guess I want to go even more specific, and I'm going to lead into it with Auburn. I'm going to stay on them for 1 second. They got Cam Coleman, true freshman wide receiver. People are saying like this guy's going to come out day one and just be a star. I mean, he might be the reason they do get to 9 wins.
Can Peyton get him the ball? That's the question.
That is a huge question.
That's the question.
We will see. However,
yeah,
sticking on wild cards. All right. Wild card team. I'm going to stick with a wild card player on this team. This is how I'm like, oh my gosh, their season, like their win total will single-handedly depend on this one player. I'm going to go with Tennessee Vols.
Yep.
Nico Iamaleava. That might be the biggest wild card in the conference as far as an individual player goes, in my opinion, because Tennessee has talent everywhere else. I mean, that defensive line is insane. They already have the projected first overall pick in James Pierce coming off the edge.
Yeah.
Josh Heupel, we know he's an offensive guru. Kind of looking at this schedule here.
Back for the most part. I mean, I believe. I mean, they're stout up front.
Yeah, no, and I mean they got Cooper Mays playing center guard. You can have
15th year of college, dude. I feel like he's been in college for like years.
Yeah, it's been a while. But they also got Squirrel White coming back. I think he's coming back for his junior year, so that'll be good. But kind of looking at this schedule right here, so you start with Chattanooga. Yep. Then I think this game's more interesting than what the casual fan would make it out to be. Playing NC State.
Yeah.
As a Sun Belt Conference follower myself, Grayson McCall is good. Yeah. He is a good quarterback. He's reliable. I'm happy that he's finally made the jump when he could have probably done it after his 2020 season when Coastal Carolina was ranked. And remember that game against BYU? I mean, that was awesome. And I'm really interested to see how Dave Doeren does this year. Like, I think NC State could be a really good team in the ACC, but I think this is kind of where we're going to find out, what's the biggest difference between the ACC and the SEC as far as talent goes. Neutral site game, so that helps NC State more than it helps Tennessee for sure. Yeah. Then you got Kent State, and then they go on the road to Oklahoma. This is the Josh Heupel Bowl, man. I mean, he won the Natty for Oklahoma in 2000.
Yeah.
Or that might have been Jason White. But, no, I'm pretty sure it was Heupel. But I do think Nico, first road start, factored in with its Oklahoma's first SEC home game.
Yeah, who you got?
I'm taking the Sooners.
I'm taking the Sooners too. Yeah.
I'm taking the Sooners.
Yeah.
And I just think with those two factors, Nico's first big road game and with Oklahoma hosting their first home SEC game,
yep.
I don't I don't see the Vols just absolutely knocking it out of the park in Norman. But then they get a bounce back spot. They got Arkansas. And then here's an interesting game. They take on Florida. Do you know Tennessee's record against Florida over the past 25 years by chance?
I do not.
It's 21-4 or 4-21, I should say. Florida owns Tennessee.
Florida 4-21.
Tennessee is 4-21 against
crazy.
Florida over the last. It's one of those things where it's like it doesn't. Florida's just got their number.
Yeah,
it is a kneeling, but we will see. I think that's a bigger coin flip game. Like I said, we'll get to Florida next. We'll get to Florida next. They're just as big of a wild card team, in my opinion, as Tennessee is. Then you get Bama, Kentucky, and Mississippi State all at home, and I think they win all three of those games.
Think they're beating Bama.
I do.
Yeah, there you go.
I think they get Bama at home, especially if they drop it to Oklahoma. That's like their big wake-up call. Okay. Yeah. They have like 2 or 3 games, get their feet back under them, and they get them at home. I think they'll get Bama. And then you got Kentucky, Mississippi State. Yep. And then they got to go to Athens, and then they finish with UTEP and Vandy. Like, they could go 11-1. They could go 8-4.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big wild card gap right there.
Yeah.
And I think it really does depend on how good Nico Iamaleava is going to be. So I do have them sitting at about 9-3 right now, though.
Yep. That's good. I have them.
I just kind of like took over right there, but
no, you're good. You're good. I mean, I didn't have much on Tennessee, except that this could be a hot take, but it's just me. So you got Nico, Squirrel White, Brew McCoy. That's your 3 heavy hitters on offense. You got a good offensive line. Offense is going to be great. Defense. I mean, you got talent on the defense side of the ball. You know who this roster gives? Could just be me. Jaden Daniel, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas. That's just what it gives to me. That was my comp when I was it just reminds me. All 3 of your main guys are returning. I think they could put up a lot of points this year. A lot of points.
Yeah, no.
And Josh Heupel, he's an offensive guru, so they'll be fun to watch. And I think that second week, the NC State, that game, there might be 1,000 points scored in that game. I do.
There might be.
I will be on the
one last point on Tennessee, and then I'll let you hit a wild card team and let you get your rambling because I apologize again.
No, you're good, dude. You're good.
I will say I think I'm going to stick on this wild card topic. The wild card game in the conference is Tennessee, Oklahoma. Yeah. I think whoever wins that game propels their season to about 2 extra wins than they probably should get.
Yeah.
But I also don't think the loser's going to fall off. But I think that's going to kind of set the tone because, I mean, that's 1 month into the year. You're right. You're about to get right into the thick of conference play.
Yeah.
So
both of them have a tough road ahead after that.
If we're sticking on the wild card topic here, I mean, I think that is the game you just need to circle. But Jake, who's probably your biggest wild card team heading into 2024?
My biggest wild card team is Texas. For several reasons. I mean, I really had them or Oklahoma coming into it, just because. But 2 new teams in the conference, just on that alone. But with Texas's schedule, I could see them going either they could go 8-4, they could go 11-1, 12-0 if they're as good as everybody makes them out to be. The wild card game on their schedule for me, let me pull their schedule up real quick. So they start week 1, you got Colorado State. That'll be a blowout. Week 2, you go to Michigan. That's just kind of a trap game for me. A lot of people have them blowing out Michigan that I've talked to, maybe not like legit sports people that know what they're talking about, but all of my friends are like flaming me for having Michigan. I think Michigan's winning that game. I really do.
Hey, before you carry on, I do have one rebuttal. I don't think they're going to blow out Michigan. I don't know what the spread is on that game. However, I think they're going to beat Michigan. They've already proven that they can go on the road to a tough environment and win like they did at Bama last year. Michigan, I just think Texas has a lot less question marks than Michigan does, especially in week 2. I think Michigan's going to have a lot more figuring out in week 2 than Texas. Well, that's probably the biggest thing for me on why I think Texas will get it done up in Ann Arbor. But continue.
Defensively, I think there's some question marks. Obviously, just because you lost T'Vondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, those were huge keys, and you're coming to the SEC. It's big boy ball now. I think they can get tossed around a little bit. Defensively, like Georgia, we might run for 250 yards per back in that game. I really think we're just going to run all over them. Ewers, he's a stud. He's played damn near perfect in every game I've seen him in. But he has a brand new receiver core. And like week 2 is going to be his first. I think that's just like their whatever kind of game. That's going to be the point right there. If you win that, you handle him. Quinn plays good. He's comfortable. He looks good. All right. Let's run. But if you struggle with Michigan, new coach, everything across the board's just about new for them. There's going to be some questions, and I can see them getting in some trouble. I mean, you got Michigan on the road week 2. Then you go UTSA, UL Monroe wins, Mississippi State. Then you got Oklahoma. That's always a good game. Georgia, Vandy, Florida, Arkansas, Kentucky, A&M. And, like, that schedule's kind of favorable besides, like, Georgia. But you get them at home. A&M, you're on the road. But it's all on that Michigan game. That's like the wild card game of the year for them, to me.
I got you. Yeah, no. I mean, I definitely
can lose that game, and you're gonna be chasing all year.
I can get behind that. I'll stay on the Texas topic, and I'll just kind of group Oklahoma in. I definitely agree. Both of these teams are wild cards jumping into the SEC from the Big 12. Is Texas considered a disappointing team if they lose 2 games or more?
I think so. Just this offseason.
If they lose 2 games, are they disappointing team?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, I've read something.
That's going to help me out here in a second.
CJ Baxter, I think he's hurt.
He's out for the year.
Is he? Okay. I didn't know that. My bad.
And that's
huge.
That is huge.
That's
and
huge.
Not in a good way.
And all your receivers gone. AD Mitchell, Worthy. I read something that their top 4 receivers from last year gone. So whole new receiving.
You get Isaiah Bond, the grave digger.
Yeah. It's the new wide receiver core for me, and you're going into the SEC in week 2. You go straight to Michigan with a brand new wide receiver core. You're starting running backs out.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, I get it. I don't hate the take. So, but like I said, I'll just to wrap it up, this little wild card section before I get to a specific team, not even like just in their own tier. But Texas, Oklahoma, definitely wild cards. We shall see. I have more on Texas in a little bit, but that's it. So,
all right, moving on to the next team we got. I think you're a little bit higher on them than me. The Florida Gators, Billy Napier's Gators, as I like to call them. I got them going 3-9. Everybody knows their schedule's tough. I think if I was a Florida fan right now and I'm looking at their schedule in the next few years and what I want my program to be, I want DJ Lagway in there as quickly as possible. I'm not sold on Graham Mertz. I don't think a lot of Florida people are. The only 3 wins I got them winning: Samford, Mississippi State, UCF. Billy Napier could be hired very soon. What you got?
All right, I'm going to go full screen on this. All right. So, the Florida Gators. As somebody who grew up in Georgia, not the biggest Florida guy. However, I know I just went on a big wild card topic, and I didn't want to just put them as my wild card team. Like, they are just in their own category because of how tough the schedule is. But Florida also has a top 25 talent composite on their team. Graham Mertz had a career year last year. DJ Lagway's his backup, so they got depth at QB. I don't disagree necessarily with Jake's point about if you want DJ Lagway in there where you want your program to be, put him in. but Graham Mertz has to lose that job. He's a veteran presence. I think DJ Lagway can learn a lot, especially about throwing the ball. We all know he's a good mobile runner and that he has a lot of talent, but he hasn't proved anything yet either. So we will see as far as that QB controversy goes. I think where Florida struggles at is coach. And it's not because of how underwhelming Florida's been. I just don't think that was the right guy. Obviously, Dan Mullen left or got fired. I'm not against it. I don't think it was necessarily a bad decision, but I don't know. I feel like he was still better than old Billy Napier. But anyways, everybody knows. When everybody talks about Florida, they just talk about how tough Florida's schedule is. So I got it pulled up right here on my computer. And I think the biggest thing is if Billy Napier can coach this team worth a dang, Florida can be a really, really good team and surprise a lot of people this year. But if he sticks to what he's been doing, like Jake said, this schedule is going to eat them alive. It's going to eat them alive. I got them going somewhere right there in the middle. I think they're going to be, I don't know. Let me just kind of go through it one by one. So the biggest game of Florida's year, well, I think Billy Napier's coaching for his job just about every single week on this schedule, but especially week 1 against in-state rival Miami. Miami, Cam Moore, Damian Martinez. We'll get more into the Canes for the ACC preview. However, they're a very talented team too. And not a lot of people are talking about how Mario Cristobal is going to be coaching for his job in this game too. I think he's just as much on the hot seat as Billy Napier is, but nobody's talking about it. So this game right here, coin flip. And that comes down to it being in the swamp, one of the toughest places to play. Flip a coin, and there's going to be a common theme here. Get a win against Samford in the swamp. You stay in the swamp. You play in Texas A&M. I'm a little bit higher on the Aggies than probably the average Joe, and I think Jake's with me right there as far as the Aggies. However, you told me Florida won this game in the swamp. I wouldn't be surprised. It is Mike Elko's first year. Will Connor Wegman even be healthy for this game? Well, excuse me. We'll see. At Mississippi State, I think they're going to get the win. Like I said in the beginning, not that high on Jeff Lebby this year. I think this is going to be a program builder at Mississippi State. However, I also said they're going to win a game or two that they're probably not supposed to. Will this be one of them? At Davis Wade with the Cowbells, we'll see. Then you have a bye week, and then I think you have a very, very important 3-week stretch here. First, because you're playing UCF. And UCF and Gus Malzahn are going to treat this game like it is the only game on their schedule. This is UCF Super Bowl. And KJ Jefferson, if Gus Malzahn could build a Walmart version Cam Newton in a lab, it's KJ Jefferson, and he's got him. So that's going to be an interesting game. I think it's a coin flip game. Then you go to Tennessee, and you come back home and you play Kentucky, Tennessee. You've owned Tennessee. I brought it up. You're 21-4 against Tennessee in the past 25 years. It doesn't matter where the game's played. Doesn't really matter how good the two teams are. Florida owns Tennessee. Now, for a while there, I'm pretty sure it was 32 games Florida had over Kentucky in a row. But the past few years, Kentucky's had Florida's number, and I do think Mark Stoops is a better coach than Billy Napier. I just – in this 3-week stretch of UCF, Tennessee, and Kentucky, if you don't win 2 games, it's going to be bad. And here's the thing. All these coin flip games, Miami, A&M, UCF, Tennessee, and Kentucky, if you lose all 5 of those going into your bye week and you're sitting there with 2-5, your bye week before you play Georgia, Billy Napier is going to be fired and DJ Lagway will be the starter. It's as simple as that. But there's also a scenario here where Florida's 7 or 6-1 going into Jacksonville. I don't think it's going to happen. I can't trust Billy Napier, but they do have the talent on their team, and if they can put the puzzle pieces in the right places, there is a chance here. But realistically, they're probably going to be sitting at 4-3 or 3-4, somewhere around that range. Then you got the back half of the schedule that everybody talks about. all of these teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, the last 5 games, all these teams are preseason top 15. Georgia at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss at Florida State. If you can win 2 of these games after and start the season 3 and 4, I think Billy Napier is going to keep his job. I do. I think if he wins 5 games on the schedule and 2 of them being this last half, he'll keep his job. However, I think they're losing to Georgia. They're not winning at Texas. They can probably get LSU this year, depending on if the whole thing is how good are they going to be before they get to this 5-week stretch here, because there's a chance where this team, and this is just a Florida thing that has happened years and years in the past, they give up. They just give up on their season and they're done. So there's a solid chance here where they will lose all 5 of these games and Billy Napier will be fired. So I think everybody's talking about this back half of the schedule, but I think Florida's season really does right there in that 3-week stretch in between their 2 bye weeks. But that's all I got on Florida. I think they're going to be right there. They could be anywhere between 4 to 7, 8 wins realistic, 4 to 7 wins realistically. I think if they're a 3-loss team, they should be in the playoff. That's all I got on Florida, though. All right, Jake, sorry for my little rant, but
you're good.
There you go, man.
You're good. Let's go to
anything you want to add.
No, I was going to add that if they were to somehow be 6-1 going to that 5 somehow, which is great, they'll probably be in the top 25 by that point. It's just like you can't sustain to continue to win. It's just not going to happen. You can't do it. 5 straight weeks. All these games are in a 28-game stretch from November 2nd. Or 28-day stretch from November 2nd to the 30th. Those 5, you're not gonna be able to do it. If I'm a Florida fan, shit, man. When's next year? When's our new coach gonna be here? New quarterback? Seriously, I'm a strong believer that regardless of what, if they win, I would say the number's 6. That would put them winning one of those in the last 5. If he goes 5-7. Because all those last 5 games, you're going to lose the fan base. It's going to be a disaster. I think he's gone after this year if he does not win.
Not a hot take.
One of those last 5. If you were to rattle off a win at Florida State that last week, oh my gosh! But I don't know. I think
and here's the thing: you'll find out after that first 4-week stretch when you play Miami and Texas A&M. You'll find everybody's going to know what Florida's going to be.
Yeah, and we might know the vibes after week 1. We might know the vibe.
You might. Depending on how bad, if Miami gets them and they get them bad, we'll know.
Yeah.
But all right, Jake. Now that I'm done talking about the Gators, I don't know if you've talked about your most disappointing team yet. I know we still have some of the heavy hitters to get to. So if you want to talk about have you talked about your most disappointing team yet?
I have not.
Okay.
My disappointing team, I won't take too long on them, is Missouri. Their first 4 weeks. Cakewalk. You got Murray State, all 4 at home. You got Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, and Vanderbilt. And then week 5, you go to A&M, and I think they might get themselves in trouble there. Brady Cook's first road game this year. I think that'll be tough. A&M will cover the 4.5 and easily take care of Mizzou, and that's where the question marks come in. You got also the first 4 weeks of the season. First half receiving yards for Luther Burden. It's gonna be insane. I'm excited to see that. And then you go Massachusetts, then you got Auburn, they'll take care of them. And then you go 2-week stretch, you got Bama on the road, and then you got Mizzou. I think they lose both of those back to back. And then you finish the season pretty favorable at Carolina, at Mississippi State, and then you finish up the season with Arkansas. My biggest question this year is you don't have Cody Schrader. The run get, you're not going to go 150 yards on the ground every time you step on the field. It's just not going to happen. Losing him, he was a big time player for you. If something happened to Luther Burden, let's say something like an injury, he's out for a week or 2. How can Brady Cook make the people around him better? Meaning, I think right now he is just a guy that can lean on Luther Burden and Curtis Schrader last year, and they helped him look good. If he is forced to be a quarterback who can make other players better, how is that going to look? That's what I'm looking forward to seeing from him. Their win totals at 9.5, and I had them going 9-3. saying why I have them as my disappointing team. I think that it's just going to be like this for Missouri and Drinkwitz for the next few years. I don't think they're going to be able to take the next step. And it's just going to turn into kind of a Kentucky thing where it's just same shit, different year. So that's what I got on Kentucky as my most disappointing team.
Yeah, no, Mizzou. I'm glad you had a topic on them because I really didn't have anything specifically for them down. I mean, I do have their schedule right here in front of me. I'm trying to figure out why they're traveling to UMass.
That's weird. Right in the middle of the schedule too.
I mean, that makes no sense to me. But I don't think if they went 9-3, that'd be disappointing. And my argument for that being, this is what, year 5 of Drinkwitz?
Yeah,
or 4? I think it's 5. But his first 3 or 4 years, he went 6-6 every single season.
Yeah.
And last year they had the breakout year. So, like, I think for a team that is used to not being at the top, that 9-3 for Missouri is still a solid year.
Yeah, it's solid. I just think their fans expect, especially with the 12-team playoff, they're going to be in the mix. They're going to be there. That's the
You know what? Hey, I can get behind that.
The disappointment is there's going to be – I have 1, 2, 3 other teams that are also 9-3 that they're not going to be over when it comes to a tiebreaker, so they just wouldn't be in the playoff. So,
yeah,
I'm not saying they're going to go like 5-7, but I just think it's going to be a disappointing year for them.
Yeah, I get that. I got them 9-3, losses at A&M, and then the 2-week stretch. I think they're gonna lose to Auburn at home, and then they got to travel to Tuscaloosa, and I think DeBoer's going to get them. So, but everything else, I mean, I think they might end up. They do have a back-to-back road stretch there against South Carolina, Mississippi State, 2 of the bottom tier teams, but going on the road back-to-back weeks in the SEC, not easy, especially with 2 fan bases who I will say I've been to both these stadiums when the teams have not been good, South Carolina, Mississippi State. Their fans don't care about how good or how bad their team is. They're going to go out there and they're going to support. So not necessarily easy wins there on the schedule, but I think 9-3 is that's what I have them going. So, all right. Well, I'm going to leave you on the screen for this one. I'll try my best not to take too long, but you might crawl through the screen and kill me. My most disappointing team, and I'm when this goes out, I'm going to get a lot of text messages from a lot of people, but my most disappointing team is the Georgia Bulldogs. And no, obviously Kirby, good. Team's most talented in the country, or top 3 talent in the country. However, I think if Georgia loses 2 games, that's considered a disappointing season. If you are not hosting at bare minimum hosting a playoff game, that's a disappointing season for the Georgia Bulldogs.
100%.
And they might be able to host a playoff game as like an 8 seed or a 7 seed. Nobody knows how the committee is going to go about ranking some of these teams past the first 4 that have to get the bye. And then obviously the G5 team is probably going to be the 12th seed. Yeah. And here's the thing, Georgia has a top 5 hardest schedule in the country, but nobody cares because it's Georgia.
Yeah.
And another reason why I think they're going to be so disappointing is because I'm the odd man out. Everybody thinks they're going to go 12-0, 11-1. Yeah. And I don't. And there's a few reasons behind that. Defensive line's got to take a step up. I think we definitely saw a decline in the pass rush last year. You're losing Kamari Lassiter. I think corner is going to be a little bit of a question mark. Now, safety, great. You got Malachi Starks coming back. He's going to be a first-round draft pick. Interested to see how the Dan Jackson, KJ Bolden situation turns out.
For Georgia's defense is that free safety spot.
But here's the thing. Kirby could do with KJ Bolden what he did with Malachi Starks, which is throw him out there against Clemson and just see what the kid does. And then once he makes a play, he's good.
Yeah.
But you do have Dan Jackson there, veteran.
Yeah. Having those 2, having a veteran who's been there, he has a ton of snaps, he's good. And then you have just a young stud, KJ Bolden. If he comes out in the Clemson game, makes a few plays, and then you got both of those options. Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
But linebacker never concerned the University of Georgia. All right, well, now we'll go to the offensive side. Wide receiver by committee. Though I don't really have a problem with their wide receivers. I don't think anybody's a superstar, but none of them are bad. They're all just solid, really good receivers. Quarterback, you got probably the best quarterback going into the conference in 2024. Make the argument for Quinn Ewers, but I think it's definitely Carson Beck. Definitely has a few question marks as far as deep ball, but when you're playing at Georgia, you don't always have to be able to throw the deep ball. Because you do have those playmakers. Running back, they're going to be fine. They pick up Trevor Etienne, the portal. I think that's a huge get. And then you have is it Broderick Robinson and then Branson and you have Brant. I get those two confused. Yeah, Broderick Robinson, Branson Robinson, all the Robinsons.
Broderick or Broderick? I think it's Roderick.
I don't know. Whatever it is. They are both studs. Running back, they're going to be I have depth. I like seeing Dylan Bell out there. I think he's probably the most underappreciated guy on the team right now. At the University of Georgia.
Yeah.
So then that's all fine and dandy when you have those guys out there, but when the guy calling plays in the biggest games of the year craps down his leg, I have no faith in him. We saw it hand in hand when your season's on the line in an SEC championship against Alabama last year. And I understand McConkey and Bowers, neither one of them were not at 100%. But I'm just not a believer in Mike Bobo. Yeah, he scores a lot of points, and yeah, Georgia won 12 games last year. But when it counted the most, I think could have definitely been some improvement there. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And like I said, I think they're going to be a really good team. They're definitely a playoff team. They could easily run the table, win the conference, go 16-0, win the national championship. However, I just think with this tough of a schedule and with a few question marks of me also probably having a lot harder expectations for the University of Georgia growing up here, Clemson could be a little bit closer than what people want to believe.
Come on,
Come on. It's week I got Georgia winning. Hey, calm down. I just saying it could be a little bit closer than what people want. People are sleeping on Dabo. That's all I'm saying. Then you get Tennessee Tech and Kentucky should take care of business both of those games. You got to go on the road to Alabama. You're dropping that one until I can actually see the Georgia Bulldogs beat Alabama more than just one time in the 9 times that they've played. I'm going to choose them to lose every time. Yeah. Auburn, Mississippi State wins. And now people are like, oh, yeah, so he's got them losing on the road at Bama and on the road at Texas. I do not. I have Georgia going on the road and beating Texas. You just can't convince me that Texas is beating Oklahoma and Georgia in back-to-back weeks. You can't convince me because they are going to get up for their Super Bowl for a team that, especially Oklahoma last year, who beat them when had no business beating them.
Yeah.
And they play them close every single year. I just don't see Texas getting up. And I have a little bit of a very small, I promise I'll be short on Texas after this. Then you get Florida, and I don't care if Florida somehow is on the upper half of what I was saying earlier. Kirby's not losing the Sun Belt, Billy.
Yeah.
But like I said about Texas playing Oklahoma and then playing Georgia. So Georgia's got to go to Texas, get up for that game. Then you got to get up for your biggest rival. And then you got to hit the road to Ole Miss, who I'm very, very high on. I do have Georgia dropping that game in Oxford. So Bama and Ole Miss are the 2 losses I have for Georgia, which aren't even bad teams to lose to. Like, it's not that Georgia's a bad team. I just think considering the expectations and how good they've been, how everybody's crowning Kirby to be the best coach in college football, which he is, but that he's supposed to kind of like take over that Nick Saban role of being that good, that it's going to be a little disappointing if they do drop 2 games.
Yeah.
And then my little tiny segment on Texas is kind of the same thing. I got Texas going 10-2. So if you want to put them as the most disappointing team, I could see it. And like I kind of talked about with Georgia, I don't think they're going to get up for both of those games. But also Sark, for people who don't know, 1 possession games with 3 unranked teams last year in the Big 12. And that should be a big red flag considering you're about to come join the SEC.
Yeah.
like I said earlier, I do think they're going to get Michigan, though. So I think they get 5 easy wins to start the year. I think they do get Oklahoma. They are going to drop it to Georgia. Then you get Vandy, and then you do go to the Swamp. And if Florida's not in the toilet, if they're not in the toilet, that game's going to be closer than what people want to talk about.
Yep.
You got to go to Arkansas. They're going to have a new coach by then. Then you get Kentucky, and it is at home, but Kentucky, one of the more physical teams year in, year out. I know they usually are middle of the road. You know, they've had a few years with Will Levis where they're a little bit above average, but I think that game's going to be a little bit closer than what people want to, you know, take a stab at. I'm not saying Kentucky's going to win, but I just think, like I was talking about, having to play in the SEC week in and week out is going to be a little bit more difficult. So I think that might be a little slip-up game, especially because that's a huge look-ahead spot to rivalry week when we finally get to see Texas play Texas A&M for the first time in 14 years.
Yeah, that game's going to be
12 years. And that will be – I don't care if Texas A&M is 0-11 going into that game. That is their Super Bowl. And I do have Texas.
That's at Kyle Field, right?
It's at Kyle Field, and I got Texas dropping it to A&M. So those are the 2 losses I have on their schedule. But I don't know whose desk Sark was under in the SEC office because this schedule really ain't hard at all.
No, it's not.
So, but that was my little short bit on Texas. So let's. I
was going to say I'll say a few more things about Georgia, and then we can go on. My question I had for you was, so obviously the past few years you've had Brock, you've had Ladd. Those have been your playmakers, especially Brock. He's got us out of so many holes. Like, he literally put his team on the back against Auburn last year, and then you got the catch against Bama in the national championship. Those kind of plays, you've had your playmaker. This year, you obviously have your quarterbacks there. You have guys. Who is the number one guy that has to make the step? I know who mine is. I think we'll probably have the same one, but I think this guy has to have a huge year for Georgia's offense, and he's got to be the guy that makes the plays. He's the playmaker. Third down, who we going to? Dillon Bell. That's my guy. I think he's going to be I'm not saying he's going to be Brock Bowers. He's not going to be Ladd McConkey, but he's going to be the playmaker, the guy that gets us out of shit when we're in it, and be that impact player on offense, because we got to have it. It's shown itself with Brock over the past few years. So,
I will also say, I mean, it really could. You could pick just about any of these guys.
You could pick about anybody.
I like the Dillon Bell. That's not the first guy that came to my mind. The first guy that came to my mind, and I think it's just because it's such a huge hole to fill, and it's like if you can even do half of what he did, it's Oscar Delp.
Yeah.
I think Oscar Delp, and he definitely has the potential, and he's going to be a good player. I like the Dillon Bell take, but I'd like to see more out of Dom Lovett this year. Because he's supposed to be the premier guy, and I think if Georgia could have a premier receiver like a Malik Neighbors, or I'm not even trying to compare him to any of these guys, but like a Calvin Ridley was, where, you know, neither one of those guys were like Amari Cooper good, but they were dang right there below it, and they kind of stood out. So I think Dom Lovett would be another good answer as far as that goes. One more thing, and this kind of plays into why I have them as the most disappointing team. It's just like with all the BS that has happened this offseason with the countless amounts of reckless driving and DUI with Trevor Etienne and Ra Thomas getting kicked off the team. Like, I'm just trying to figure out, is this do the players run the team? Like, are they getting a little too big for their britches? Like, I know Kirby runs the team, and like I know he's a very intimidating factor, but how much of a grip does he truly have on the team? Because if they're doing that kind of stupid stuff off the field, are you going to be able to trust Dom Lovett or Trevor Etienne, whoever? And I know Trevor's the one got in trouble. Dom Lovett didn't get in trouble, but besides the point, they all hang out together. They all have the same type of bad influence. You're going to be able to trust those guys to take the correct steps, run the right route, know all the plays when it's 3rd and 8 in the fourth quarter in Tuscaloosa. You know?
That off-field drama plays into how I see the season going, just the first half. So I think I'll just go ahead and finish what I have on Georgia. So Clemson week 1, I think we'll start slow. We'll probably give up a first drive touchdown, and we're going to be like, what the hell? It's 7-0, and we haven't even started eating yet. But we'll escape Clemson. Then you got Tennessee Tech at Kentucky. This game I have marked down on my notes just because this game feels like Missouri. Was it 3 years ago when we went to Missouri and almost lost?
I was there. I was right there in the flesh.
Again, already 7:30 kick on ABC. That feels like Missouri to me. Struggle with that. So you got 2 games at Clemson and Kentucky. We're going to struggle. Everybody's going to be freaking out. And then we go to Bama. I think we drop that one on the road. That DeBoer's going to have the boys ready. We obviously have started out slow. Everybody, there's question marks around Georgia. So we're 3-1. And then that's when Kirby releases the boys out of the gate. And the back half of the season, you're going to dominate Auburn. You're going to dominate Mississippi State. Steamroll Texas. 2 running backs will have 100 yards on the ground. Then you steamroll Florida. They're not even going to have a coach. Ole Miss, that is going to be a massacre. I cannot wait for that game. It's going to be the same thing that happened in Athens last year in Oxford. That's my very, very strong take on that game. I know you have. Didn't you have Ole Miss beating Georgia? Yeah. And then the Vols come to town. That's not going to happen in Athens. Massachusetts, and then Georgia Tech on Black Friday. That's going to be a long day because I'm a big Black Friday guy. But we should take care of Georgia Tech at home on Black Friday, and then what I'm getting to is the Bama game is when when the season's going to start, when the momentum gets going. It's going to be a come to Jesus talk. Let's lock in, show people who the real dogs are. We're not going anywhere. The dogs go 11-1.
Hey, I don't hate that at all. Very realistic situation. I kind of like how you broke it down, though. It's kind of a slow start and then get humbled a little bit and then just.
And you have a lot of young guys the first few weeks, like Anthony Evans on offense at receiver. You're going to have KJ Bolden getting in, like we talked about. Jonel Aguero at that star position after losing Tyke Smith. Who else? You got the new tight end from Stanford, Benjamin Urasek. Is that his name?
Yep.
He's a new guy that's going to get some reps. And then how is the running back? How are they going to flow the first 3 weeks? Is Carson Beck going to be too stuck on the Cavender twins' ass for the first 3 weeks of the season? We'll see. I think it's a slow start, but ultimately the boys will get going after that Bama game.
Yeah. So, Jake, there's 4 teams we haven't talked about left: Bama, LSU, A&M, and Ole Miss. And I know we're doing the title game and the champion, so I don't think either one of us have LSU in the SEC title game. So if you want to talk to me about the Bayou Bengals, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think LSU this year is one of those teams. Week 1, it's going to be that sets the momentum. If you can get past week 1, then I think there's a path for them to get to the SEC championship game. I think they're going to be a team kind of like a wild card team that wins games that they're not supposed to, and they lose the games that they're supposed to win. So I got USC week 1. I got them dropping that one. Miller Moss shows out. That'll be a really good game. And that's on a Sunday night, I believe. And then you got Nichols at home, should win that one. South Carolina, take care of them. UCLA at home. South Alabama. And then you got Ole Miss at home. It's already slated to be a night start. The spread on that's already out. LSU's favored by 2.5. I think Ole Miss struggles in this one. LSU gets them. So by that point, you're 5-1. Then you got Arkansas, A&M. I have them dropping this game on the road. That's going to be a tough environment to play in because up to that point, they have not really had a true road test because that'll be their first road test at Kyle Field. Tough place to play. They'll drop that one. And then they have Bama at home. I do not think they're going to lose 2 straight. And I have them taking care of the Tide at LSU. And then you got Florida on the road. I think they take care of Florida. Vandy finish the season with Oklahoma at home, and I think Oklahoma gets the best of them in this one. So they finish the season 9-3. Brian Kelly has had an interesting stint, I guess the word is, with LSU. Defensive-minded head coach. Last year's pass defense was second worst in the SEC and 118th in the nation. You got to fix that. That's the biggest thing. Last year, if they had somewhat of a defense, it's a completely different ending to the season last year for the SEC. Obviously, you're losing Jaden Daniels, and two of your main receivers. So it's going to be a interesting to see that offense. I'm not going to say that they're not going to miss a beat, but I think Nussmeier is going to be really good. And I think I have them. Obviously, I have this as a note. They have two of the biggest wins of the year in the SEC versus Bama and Ole Miss, and then some pretty ugly losses. Like I said, they're going to be one of those teams that wins games that they're not supposed to, and they're going to lose some games that they're supposed to win. In the secondary, I noted that they have just one transfer that's really going to start right away, and the rest are returners. So hopefully that'll help with the pass defensive stat that I just dropped. So I think they're going 9-3. I think there's definitely a path, especially considering you're getting Bama and Ole Miss at home. If you win those two games and beat USC, they're going to be set. Good look. I mean, your toughest test on the road is A&M, and I mean you have 7 to 8 games before that, and you get Oklahoma at home. Their schedule's really favorable, so I could see them going 10-2, but I also could see Brian Kelly and the boys going like 8-4, 7-5. Just depends. Nussmeier, he's going to have a big year, and then that's all I got.
Nussmeier is a wild card.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He's a wild card.
Yeah, he is a wild card. I'll try my best to be quick on LSU. Brian Kelly's going to be on the hot seat after 2024. I think the reason why I say that is because he really screwed himself, not like purposefully, is because he did such a good job in his first year. He won the SEC West. He beat Bama, and he was playing in the SEC championship in his first year as the head coach at LSU. And it's been downhill. What is this, year 3? Year 3 for Brian Kelly, yeah. And last year, like you said, defense is terrible. That secondary is just, that was rough to watch. Everybody's talking about how they are losing 33% of the problem, a third of their defense, and improving it with new players from the portal. And my counter to that is, if you're losing 33% on defense, you're losing about 40% on offense between Jane Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas.
Yeah.
Garrett Nussmeier, he's a gunslinger. He's going to be a good quarterback. I don't know if he's just going to be outrageously good this year. I don't care how good he is going to be. His ceiling is nowhere near close to what Jane Daniels can do, and that's because of, he can't run. Nobody can run like Jane Daniels unless you're Lamar Jackson. Yeah. So I'll just run through this real fast. Brian Kelly he didn't win a big-time bowl game one time at Notre Dame. Every time he made the playoff or a New Year's Six game, he lost. He's not won a season opener in God knows how long. He got his butt whooped by Florida State last year. He lost to a Florida State team 2 years ago who was not that good. So they're going to lose to Southern Cal and Miller Moss, who nobody's ready for my Big Ten preview on the Trojans. But I do think they're going to drop that game in Vegas. And then you have maybe the easiest 4-game stretch between Nicholls State, South Carolina, UCLA, and then South Alabama. I also have them beating Ole Miss, whatever week that is. I don't know if there's a bye. I think there's one after South Alabama. So, right there, what is that, 5-1 starting the year? And then you're going to get Arkansas, and then you're on the road at A&M. I have them dropping that game. I have them dropping back-to-back games. I don't think they're going to get Bama. They're going to get Florida. And honestly, if they beat Bama, they're not beating Florida. I don't care how bad Florida is. That's a big rivalry game that not a lot of people talk about. I'm glad they kept it. I just think between that 3-game stretch between Bama, A&M, Florida, choose whatever 2 losses you want to put on there. They're not winning all 3. I think they're going to lose 2 out of 3. You get Vandy, and then I have them dropping to Oklahoma on rivalry week, which puts them at 8-4. And that's really not that bad of a season with the new SEC and a gauntlet schedule like this. However, 8-4 is not acceptable in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So that's why I think Brian Kelly will be on the hot seat after 2024.
I like it. crazy. You think he's gonna be on the hot seat, man? That's interesting.
Well, like I said, man, he set the bar too high year one, and he's gotten a little bit worse every year.
Yeah,
They're not going to put up with that.
yeah.
They do not put up with that at LSU. So, all right, Texas A&M, the
A&M.
Aggies, the Aggies.
I'll start us off.
Yeah, go ahead.
So obviously, you got a new coach, Mike Elko. I'm a big Mike Elko guy. I was glad he got the job. Defensive-minded head coach, and their defense is always good. They're always solid on defense. Obviously, you lost Walter Nolan, but still got a bunch of guys coming back, bunch of transfer guys. A stat that I found last year, it's A&M. Let me pull up their schedule real quick. So A&M in 2023, A&M was 7-1 when allowing 22 points or fewer, and they were 0-5 when giving up more than that. And if you look at their schedule, so week one you got Notre Dame at home. That game's going to be awesome. I think they should be able to take care of Notre Dame. McNeese win, at Florida win, Bowling Green win, Arkansas win, Mizzou at home another win, at Mississippi State win. LSU, I think I have them winning. Yeah, I have that winning this game at home. Carolina, New Mexico State, and then I have them losing their last two games of the season at Auburn and at A&M. I think they start out hot. They'll be 10-0 going in that last 2-week stretch, and go to Jordan Hare, lose on the road to Hugh Freeze. He'll have the boys ready for that game. And then the last week of the season, which I know I said earlier, I'll be all over A&M. Realistically, I do have Texas winning this game, and that's going off the stat. A&M last year, 7-1 when allowed, or 7-0 allowing 22 points or fewer, and 0-5 when giving up more. If you can find a way to give up less than 20 points to Texas, that will be insane. I can't see it happening with this Texas offense. So I got Texas A&M going 10-2. And I'm excited to see Connor Wegman, a full year of him being healthy. They have like a very young running back room that'll be with him, and then you got an experienced offensive line. Actually, they're returning 3 of their wide receivers, so that'll be good. They can score 20 points a game, man. This schedule is very favorable considering their only offensive powerhouses they've really got to play is LSU and Texas, and LSU you get at home. And you get Texas at home. So I think the schedule is very favorable for them and potential playoff team in Texas.
Yeah. I like that. Let me I'm gonna go in on this one. No, it probably won't be that long, but I do have a few things to say. So as far as Texas A&M goes, I have them down as my surprise team for the 2024 season. The biggest thing about Texas A&M is that they've always had the talent. They've never not had the talent. They've never not had the money. I mean, they're paying a guy over $70 million to not coach their football team. Dream job, if you ask me. Besides the point, they finally got the guy with a plan, a guy who's not in over his head, not a guy that carries around a big play sheet and thinks he knows what he's doing when he doesn't, especially when you have all that talent. They got Mike Elko, a guy who just made Duke look like a powerhouse for the first half of the year last year, and then obviously doesn't have the depth or some of the other talent at Duke that he's going to have at Texas A&M. He doesn't have the resources at Duke and the money at Duke, but my God, they were a good football team last year. I'll tell you that. And Texas A&M is going to be good, and they're going to be good for a while if Mike Elko can produce, and I think he will. So looking at this schedule, Notre Dame, I got the Aggies winning that one. It's at Kyle Field. Mike Elko, if anybody knows how to prepare for Riley Leonard, it's going to be Mike Elko. So give me A&M, and then they got McNeese State. That's going to be a win. At Florida, flip a coin. I put it down as a loss because I think, if anything, Sunbelt Billy does win one game a year that he's not supposed to win. 2 years ago, when he had Anthony Richardson, it was against Utah in the swamp. And then last year, it was against Tennessee in the swamp. And they're both of those games really early in the year, both in the swamp. Texas A&M might be on their high horse a little bit, get caught off guard. You get a recovery game against Bowling Green. You get Arkansas in a rivalry game in Jerry World. They're going to get a win there. You get Missouri at home. I think they're going to beat Mizzou. Then you have a bye. It's a good get your legs under you. You got Mississippi State. That's a win. They get LSU at home. I just talked about LSU. I think the Aggies get it done. Then they go to South Carolina. This is, another 3-week stretch. South Carolina wins one game every year they're not supposed to. They ruined Tennessee season 2 years ago. They kept it close with UGA in Athens not too long ago. And I, for whatever reason, I don't even know why, but I did mark down at South Carolina as a loss, which now looking at it, I want to put that as a win. I'm going to change it. They're going to beat South Carolina. They have a bye week. They're going to beat New Mexico State. And I had them originally beating Auburn at Auburn. However, I'm going to change that to a loss. So they still get that loss from South Carolina back. It's a look-ahead spot to their Super Bowl. We talked about it in the past when we were talking about Texas. Texas A&M, big rivalry game. I'm looking forward to it. It's like the first time I've been old enough to really remember a game when these two teams have played. So it's going to be very exciting to watch this play. And I think they are going to get Texas because, like I said, it's their Super Bowl. I think they're going to want it more than Texas does. So therefore, I have A&M as my surprise team going 10-2. But that's also it's a lot of question marks. Like I said, they got the talent. They're going to have a good defense. Like Jake said, I didn't even know that stat about the points per game, but that was last year. And I think Mike Elko, if anything, he's going to make a really good defense even better. He's going to make it more improved than what it was last year. Can Connor Wegman stay healthy? That's probably the biggest thing. They've had a lot of quarterback issues. He was a 5-star out of the state of Texas. He's supposed to be really good, but we've never really got to see him play that much. So if he can stay healthy, and even if he can't, I'm sure they have some serviceable backups, but I don't know if it'll be anybody that can propel them to 10-2. But I think Connor Wegman, if healthy, he's going to make the Aggies 10-2. So they're my surprise team and maybe a sleeper playoff team for 2024.
Awesome. Love it. We think we got 2 more left. Let's go Ole Miss. And I'm pretty sure you're pretty high on them, so I will get through this pretty quick. I got Ole Miss going 10-2. Looking at their schedule, first of all, their first 6 weeks of the season, it's just ridiculous. How easy their schedule is. They don't have to get up until week 7. You got Furman week 1, Middle Tennessee State, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern. That'll be a fun game for you. And then you got Kentucky.
Hey, I'm gonna be there. I'm going. I'm going. Watch out for the Eagles, man. That's all I gotta say.
So yeah, Georgia Southern, Kentucky, South Carolina, and then you go on the road to LSU, and like I said, I have LSU winning that game, and then you have Oklahoma at home, Arkansas, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi State. I know, like I said, I think their 2 losses are going to be the LSU on the road, and then who's their other loss I got? Georgia. And I talked about that game earlier. I think that they'll get ran through Georgia. Excited to see how their run game is going to be. I know Judkins. Not even going to try his first name again. I always get that messed up. If they're forced to run, can they get it going? They got the Miami transfer, Henry Parrish. I'm pretty sure they have a senior too that's coming back. So that'll be interesting to see. And then you have the Georgia Tech guy. I think this is year 2 with them, with Ole Miss, or year 3 after he transferred from Georgia Tech. Jared Ivey, the pass rusher. I think everybody's freaking out. They're losing Walter Nolan, but he's going to be a very key player on their defense, get some pressure on the quarterback. I think that's all I got on Ole Miss. So, yeah, I got them going 10-2. I think everybody needs to chill out a little bit on Ole Miss. They're not going to be – a lot of people just – them in Texas, man. Everybody it's just – I'm ready for the season to start so we can see this stuff play out, because the Ole Miss and Texas hype needs to come down a little bit.
Well, I might get humbled. I might get humbled, but I'll go ahead and give my take on Ole Miss, and I'll try and keep it as quick as possible because we still got title game and champions, and talk about Alabama. So maybe give me about a few minutes. All right, Ole Miss, very high on the Rebels this year. Lane Kiffin, has taken a program that has been very mediocre. You know, they had a few good seasons under Hugh Freeze, but for the most part, below average or mediocre team. And he has made them a serious contender in the SEC. Stinchcomb was talking about it. You know, their schedule. This might be the easiest one in the SEC, and that's part of the reason why I am so high on them. I think Jackson Dart is a playmaker. I'm very excited to see him play. I think he's a true Heisman Trophy contender and can do some serious damage this year. You got is it Juice Wells maybe? Gosh, I can't forget his. I think it's Juice Wells. Stinchcomb. Hang on, let me bring him in. Is it Juice Wells? Is he the one that got added to play receiver there?
I think.
Oh no, I know they got Trey Harris, but there was a transfer from South Carolina.
Yeah,
now at Ole Miss. I think it's Juice Wells, but I didn't know if you knew off the top of your head. But sorry if I caught you off guard. All right.
You're good.
Anyways, they have a really good receiving core. They've added a lot of key players out of the portal, but like I said, Trey Harris going to be a huge impact player for the Rebels this year. 2 huge question marks. Quinshon Judkins is gone. Can the running game sustain? Is it going to be just a depth thing where they're rotating in a few guys and you don't just have the premier back at Judkins? But it doesn't really matter as far as who the replacement is because he's not going to be as good as Quinshon Judkins. He's not. I don't care how good he is. Unless his name is Ollie Gordon, he's not going to be as good as Quinshon Judkins or Donovan Edwards. So can they sustain a good running game? I think they'll find a way. Lane Kiffin is an offensive mastermind. The other big question mark, they do lose Walter Nolan. Ivy from Georgia Tech, like Stinchcomb brought up, he is going to, try and fill that void. But I'm very high on Walter. Oh, no, sorry. Walter Nolan is at Ole Miss. He left Texas A&M, so my bad. Walter Nolan's going to be really dang good. And that's part of the reason why I'm really so high on their defense. Except that Pete Golding, whoever the former Alabama defensive coordinator was, he's probably the biggest question mark as far as the Ole Miss team, not even just their defense, but their team as a whole. I'll run through their schedule real fast. Furman win, Middle Tennessee State win, Wake Forest, that a very weak ACC opponent. They should get the job done. Then they play my Georgia Southern Eagles. You can see the flag right there. It's going to be a good time going to that game, but I don't think my Eagles really have a fighting chance in hell to win that one. Then they get Kentucky, South Carolina. I think they would take care of business both of those games, but I think that Kentucky game might be a little bit closer than they want it to be. They get LSU in Death Valley. This is a revenge game for the Tigers from last year, and like I talked about earlier, I do have Ole Miss dropping this game. Then they get a bounce back spot. Well, it's not an easy opponent, but this is a bounce back spot for them. I think they take care of business against Oklahoma. They're playing an Arkansas team that probably won't have a full-time head coach at that point in time. They get the Dogs at home, and that's right off Georgia playing the rival, Texas 2 weeks before that. I just think it's a terrible spot, a lot better spot for Ole Miss than this Georgia. I am going to take Ole Miss to beat them. Then they get Florida at the end of the year. It's at the Swamp. If Florida's worth a dang, it's going to be close. But I think by this time, Florida season will pretty much be determined. I am going to take the Rebels. And then you have the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving night. Always an awesome game. Does not matter how good the two teams are. Could be a sleepwalking type of game for Ole Miss. Might be a little bit closer than they want, but I do see them edging it out. I have them going 11-1 and making the SEC championship game. And we will talk more about that in a second. We only got one team left to talk about, the Alabama Crimson Tide, the Fighting Roll Tide Willies. I'll let you start off with the Crimson Tide and the no longer coached by Nick Saban Alabama team.
Yeah, I think I almost had them as my most surprising team just because I think a lot of people have them falling off based on the fact that Saban is not going to be there. I don't think they're going to miss that much of a beat. I have them going 11-1, losing in the SEC championship game to Georgia. They're obviously going to get Georgia week 4. I think that's going to be their biggest win. Let's see. Let me pull up their schedule. So you got Western Kentucky week 1. Hopefully they're able to take care of them. South Florida, Wisconsin. That's going to be a good game on the road. Jalen Milroe's first road test of the season. I think they take care of that. Then they got Georgia, Vandy, South Carolina, at Tennessee. That's going to be a tough one. Got them taking care of the bowls. This 3-week stretch of Tennessee, Mizzou, and LSU is going to be tough. Ultimately, I have them. The only loss out of that is going to be the LSU game, like I said earlier. And then you finish up with Mercer, Oklahoma, and Auburn. And I think they take care of all those, go 11-1. Low-key kind of tough schedule. I mean, obviously, you got the out-of-conference at Wisconsin, Georgia, at Tennessee, Mizzou, LSU in that 3-week span. And then you go to Oklahoma and Auburn. So, tough schedule, but I think it's Jalen Milroe for Heisman this year. I'm already on that. My thing with that is, look what Michael DeBoer, Kalen DeBoer has done with what he did with Michael Penix. I think Milroe's already got the ability, the talent. The ability's there. He's fast, he can run, and he has experience under him now after last year. I'm excited to see what DeBoer does with Milroe this year. I think like I said, he's going to win the Heisman. There's going to be some questions in the secondary. I had it written down. So they got a new defensive coordinator, Kane Womack from South Alabama, and I read that he's very aggressive and comfortable putting pressure on the secondary. So with that, you've lost 2 DBs to the NFL, Kool-Aid McKinstry and I think Terrion Arnold. I only wrote down his last name. So how is he going to be? If can't be, Alabama, their front seven's always good. And obviously you have Malachi Moore, and they got a USC transfer, Damani Jackson. So if you can have – the defense is always good at Bama, but just if that secondary is strong, they're going to be tough to handle, in my opinion. Let's see. I have this written down. One of the biggest things with Saban, everybody knows, is halftime adjustments. At halftime, if he was in a close game, everybody knew he was coming out in the second half ready to go. You saw it in a bunch of the Georgia games. And in 2023, Bama outscored their opponents in the second half 120-51. That's pretty crazy stat to me, and I think that's going to be a big thing for DeBoer is at the halftime in some of these games, like Wisconsin on the road, Georgia, at Tennessee. How are you going to be able to adjust at half and come out in the second half and finish ball games? I think if he can figure that out, he'll go 11-1. Jalen Milroe win the Heisman and SEC Player of the Year, and they will lose in the SEC Championship to the Bulldogs. Hunter, what you got?
The Alabama Crimson Tide, I'll try and make this somewhat slick and fast. So, Bama, I like them this year. I kind of agree with Jake as far as I don't think they're going to miss that much of a beat at all, if any, with DeBoer. I think great hire, won everywhere he's been, hired a great DC, like he said, and Cade Womack. He's got probably the best rushing attack in the SEC with a very good offensive line, but Jam Miller and then Justice Haynes. And not a lot of people got to see Justice Haynes play last year, but if you keep up or know about recruiting in the state of Georgia for high school football, that guy's a dog. And he got to play a little bit in the Rose Bowl finally last year, and you could just tell he's going to be the real deal. Offensive line, great. Milroe, obviously, that's a huge question. I think with how good of a rushing attack Alabama has and what Milroe can do with his legs, that he's not going to have to be this Michael Penix type character with his arm. He's got a good deep ball. Obviously, people are a little concerned about intermediate passing and all that. We'll see. I think he's going to be good. I don't know. Hey, I don't know about the Heisman talk, Stinchcomb, but if his team's 11-1 playing the SEC championship, I guess he's going to have something big to do with it. But I think it's going to be more. I think he's going to be more impactful with his legs than he is his arm again this year. We'll go through their schedule real fast. Western Kentucky, that's going to be a win. USF win. Wisconsin, big noon kickoff. That game's going to be probably 1 to 1.5 possession game. For some weird reason, just have a weird feeling about that being a close game, but Bama's going to take care of business up there in Madison. They get Georgia at home. We already talked about it. I got them beating the Dogs. They get Vandy and South Carolina. I think they win both of those games. I don't see them going on the road to both Tennessee and LSU in the same year in a 3-week stretch and winning both of those games. I think they're going to drop one of them. I have Tennessee down. I'm a little bit higher on Tennessee than I am LSU this year, so only made sense for me to do that. Missouri, I got them bouncing back at home, getting the win. I think they do go on the road to Baton Rouge and beat LSU. I'm not buying into the LSU stock right now. Mercer win. Oklahoma, I honestly thought about putting this down as a loss. A look ahead spot at Jordan Hare. Or no, sorry, it's in Tuscaloosa, but against Auburn, big game. I thought about putting this down as a loss, just a weird game on the road in Norman in late November, and it definitely could be a loss, but excuse me, but I think by this time they'll be rolling. They're going to be good, and I do have them beating the Sooners, and then I have them finishing out the year in the Iron Bowl, beating Auburn. So I have them going 11-1, and that makes my SEC championship Ole Miss versus Alabama. So, Stench, you had Bama, Georgia. Did you already say who you had winning?
Yeah, I got the Dogs winning in the SEC championship.
Okay, you got Georgia with the bye. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even have a champion written down. I cannot make up my mind between Ole Miss and Alabama. Part of that being is that I truly don't want to believe that first year without Nick Saban, Alabama wins the SEC. I'm having a really hard time owning up to that one. But also, like you said, like they have to go through a gauntlet. They got a little bit of a tougher schedule. It's not as hard as like a Georgia or Florida. But Ole Miss has got that cakewalk, man. I don't know. We'll have to see. Should I just flip a coin and then whoever? No, screw it, dude. I can't tell. I cannot have Bama win an SEC championship back-to-back years first year. Give me Ole Miss. I'll just keep riding the wave. Give me the lane train.
The lane train.
Give me the lane train. Give me the Rebels winning the SEC first round bye in the playoff. But I think that's it.
That's it.
Hit on all the heavy hitters. You have any other little tidbits or anything else you might want to add? Did we somehow forget about a team? I know we didn't dive too much into Oklahoma, but we've pretty much covered all the little bases and talked about some different things. So,
who do you have as your player of the year in the SEC?
Player of the year, Jackson Dart.
Jackson Dart.
If Alabama wins, Jalen Milroe.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I'll go with Jackson Dart.
Is there a team or a player, coach, program in the SEC you're most excited to see unfold this year?
That's a good question. Excited to see how well Mike Elko does at A&M.
Yeah.
But also intrigued to see how the switch from the Big 12 to the SEC does for Texas.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody's kind of expecting Oklahoma to struggle a little bit more. Not as many people are expecting Texas to struggle. So I'm intrigued for that. What about you? Who's the team you're most excited to see?
I would say LSU, man. I hate to hear myself saying that, but I think it's Brian Kelly and LSU. A lot of pressure on Brian Kelly, and he's lost his three heavy hitters. And like that week 1 game against Notre Dame, if you can get is it not, right? Yeah. No, well, USC. Sorry, USC. Somehow you win that game. That's huge for the rest of your season. And then I have them beating Ole Miss and Bama. So excited to watch them and how that all unfolds. And then obviously like at a bigger scale, like you have the top 3 teams in the SEC or top 4 teams in the SEC that everybody's talking about. You got Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss, and Texas, obviously. You got your lower tier, Vandy, Arkansas, them. I'm most excited in the SEC to see the middle of the pack. Your Tennessee, your LSU, your A&M, Missouri, Kentucky, Auburn, like that. It's just going to be a bloodbath in the SEC this year. And there's probably 5 or 6 teams that I could see going 6-6 or 10-2. Like it could just happen. This year. So I'm pumped to see how it all plays out. It sucks we don't get an SEC game this Saturday, but I can't wait to see the Georgia Tech game against Florida State. That's going to be so much fun. I'm so pumped.
Yeah, man, that time of year is finally coming back around. I'm excited for it.
Yep.
But well, I enjoyed it. This was podcast 129. We'll be back later this week with another conference preview.
Yes, sir.
All right.